I smoothed my dress for the 100th time, scanning the crowded ballroom. The charity fundraiser buzzed with chatter and clinking glasses, but I felt utterly alone. That is, until a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Emily, is that you?" I turned to see Joshua, my old friend from nursing school. His warm smile instantly put me at ease. "Joshua, what are you doing here?" He chuckled, raising his champagne flute. "Supporting a good cause, same as you. It's been too long, Em. How've you been?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I grimaced, seeing my sister's name on the screen. "Sorry, I should take this." Joshua nodded, concern etching his features. "Everything okay?" I stepped away, answering the call. "Hello, Karen." "Emily, where are you? We're all waiting at Mom's for dinner. You promised you'd be here." I closed my eyes, willing myself not to snap. "Karen, I told you last week I had this fundraiser tonight. I can't make it." "You never have time for family anymore," Karen scolded. "Mom's not getting any younger, you know. The least you could do is show up for dinner once in a while." "I'm hanging up now," I said, my voice tight. "I'll call Mom tomorrow." I ended the call, my hands shaking. When I turned back, Joshua was watching me with concern. "Family troubles?" he asked gently. I nodded, fighting back tears. "They're always on my case about not being around enough. But when I am there, they criticize everything I do. I can't win." Joshua squeezed my arm. "I'm sorry, Em. That sounds rough." "It's fine," I said, forcing a smile. "How about you? How's life treating you these days?" His expression softened. "Actually, I'm back in town for good. My dad passed away last year, and I'm staying with my mom to help out. My sister Madison's there, too." "Oh, Joshua, I'm so sorry about your dad," I said. "That must be challenging, living with your mom and sister." He shrugged. "It has its moments. But hey, enough about me. Are you seeing anyone?" I laughed, the sound more bitter than I intended. "No time for dating when you're working 60-hour weeks and fending off family drama." Joshua's brow furrowed. "You deserve better than that, Em. You always were too good for this town." A waiter passed by with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, and Joshua snagged two, handing one to me. "Here, eat something. You look like you could use it." As I took a bite, I realized how hungry I was. When was the last time I'd eaten a real meal? "Thanks," I mumbled around a mouthful of food. Joshua grinned. "Some things never change. Remember that time in school when you were so stressed about exams, you forgot to eat for 2 days straight?" I groaned. "Don't remind me. You had to practically force-feed me." "Well, consider this me picking up where we left off," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Someone's got to look out for you, Em." For a moment, I let myself imagine what it would be like to have someone in my corner again. But reality came crashing back as my phone buzzed once more. Joshua's smile faded. "Your family again?" I nodded, staring at the screen. "I should probably go. They won't stop until I show up." "Wait," Joshua said, touching my arm. "I have an idea. Why don't you come stay with us for a while? We have plenty of room, and it might give you some breathing space from your family." I blinked, stunned by the offer. I couldn't impose like that. "It's not an imposition," he insisted. "Think about it, okay? You deserve some peace." As I wavered, my phone buzzed again. Joshua raised an eyebrow. "What do you say? Want to make a jailbreak?" I looked at my phone, then back at Joshua's kind face. In that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. "You know what? Let's do it." I stood in my cramped apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes and a lifetime of memories. Joshua's offer to stay with his family still echoed in my mind, a lifeline I desperately wanted to grab. But doubt gnawed at me. Was I really ready to uproot my life? My phone buzzed, Karen again. I ignored it, focusing on folding a sweater. The doorbell rang, startling me. I opened it to find my mother standing there, arms crossed. "Emily," she said, her tone clipped. "We need to talk." I sighed, stepping aside to let her in. "Mom, I told Karen I couldn't make it to dinner. I had a work event." She surveyed the mess of boxes, her eyebrows rising. "What's all this? Are you moving?" "I'm considering it," I admitted. "A friend offered me a place to stay for a while." Mom's face hardened. "A friend? Who? Why haven't we heard about this friend before?" "It's Joshua from nursing school," I explained, bracing myself for her reaction. "We ran into each other at the fundraiser last night." "Joshua?" she scoffed. "That boy who was always distracting you from your studies? I thought you'd outgrown that nonsense." I felt a familiar anger rising. "Mom, I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions." "Clearly not," she snapped. "Look at you, ready to run off with the first man who shows you attention. What about your job? Your responsibilities to this family?" "My job is fine," I said, struggling to keep my voice level. "And as for family responsibilities, I've been carrying those alone for years. Maybe it's time I did something for myself. Mom's eyes narrowed. So that's it? You're just going to abandon us? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Joshua. Hey, just checking in. Have you thought more about staying with us? I looked at my mother, then back at the phone. In that moment, I made my decision. Actually, yes, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I'd love to. Mom's face fell, a mix of hurt and anger. Emily, think about what you're doing. I have thought about it, I said, surprising myself with my firmness. I'm going, Mom. I need this. She left without another word, slamming the door behind her. I leaned against it, my heart racing. What had I just done? Hours later, I stood on Joshua's doorstep, suitcase in hand. He opened the door with a warm smile that instantly calmed my nerves. Em, you made it, he said, pulling me into a hug. Come on in. Let me introduce you to everyone. I followed him inside, taking in the cozy living room. An older woman I assumed was Grace, Joshua's mother, sat in an armchair while a younger woman lounged on the couch. Mom, Madison, this is Emily, Joshua said. She'll be staying with us for a while. Grace stood, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Welcome, dear. Joshua's told us so much about you. Madison barely looked up from her phone. Hey! I shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware of how intrusive my presence might be. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Joshua squeezed my shoulder. Let's get you settled in. I'll show you to your room. As we climbed the stairs, I heard Madison's voice drift up. How long is she staying exactly? I froze, but Joshua urged me on. Don't mind Madison. She'll warm up to you. The guest room was small but comfortable. I sat on the bed, overwhelmed by the day's events. Joshua leaned against the doorframe, watching me. You okay? He asked softly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He came and sat beside me, taking my hand. It's going to be all right, Em. You're safe here. I looked into his kind eyes, feeling a flutter in my chest. For the first time in years, I felt like I might have found a place where I belonged. But as Joshua left me to unpack, I heard raised voices from downstairs. Madison's angry tone cut through the walls. I can't believe you invited her without asking us first. I sank onto the bed, my momentary peace shattered. What had I gotten myself into? I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of muffled voices downstairs. For a moment I forgot where I was. Then reality crashed back. I was in Joshua's house, hiding from my own family. I dressed quickly and made my way to the kitchen. Joshua was at the stove, flipping pancakes. Grace sat at the table, sipping tea. Good morning, Emily, Grace said, her tone polite but cool. I hope you slept well. I did, thank you, I replied, trying to sound cheerful. Can I help with anything, Joshua? He smiled over his shoulder. Nah, I've got this. Sit down, relax. As I took a seat, Madison burst into the kitchen, already dressed for work. Mom, have you seen my blue folder? I can't find it anywhere. Grace frowned. Did you check the study? Of course I did, Madison snapped. She glanced at me, her eyes narrowing. You didn't touch it, did you? I blinked, taken aback. No, I haven't been in the study. Joshua turned from the stove. Maddie, come on. Emily just got here yesterday. Madison rolled her eyes. Whatever. I'm late. She grabbed a piece of toast and stormed out. An uncomfortable silence fell over the kitchen. I cleared my throat. I should get ready for work too. Already? Joshua asked, disappointment clear in his voice. I made breakfast. I'm sorry, I said, standing. Maybe tomorrow. As I headed upstairs, I heard Grace's voice. Joshua, we need to talk about this arrangement. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I was already causing problems. At the hospital, I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction. But as I was changing an IV, my phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Mom's furious. What were you thinking? I ignored it, focusing on my patient. But the messages kept coming, a constant reminder of the mess I'd left behind. During my lunch break, I found a quiet corner and called Karen. What do you want? I asked, my voice tight. I want you to come home, she said. This isn't like you, Emily, running off with some guy from your past. It's not like that, I protested. Joshua's just a friend. I needed space. Karen scoffed. Space from what? Your family? Your responsibilities? I felt my anger rising. Yes, actually, space from all of it. Is that so hard to understand? Mom's talking about selling the house, Karen said, her voice suddenly small. She says there's no point in keeping it if you're not coming back. My heart sank. She can't do that. It's been in our family for generations. Then come home and talk some sense into her, Karen pleaded. I ended the call, my head spinning. How had everything gotten so complicated so quickly? When I returned to Joshua's that evening, the house was quiet. I found a note on the kitchen counter. Had to take Mom to a doctor's appointment. There's lasagna in the fridge. Make yourself at home. I heated up the lasagna and sat at the table, feeling more alone than ever. As I ate, I heard the front door open. Madison walked in, looking surprised to see me. "Oh, you're here," she said flatly. I forced a smile. "Hi, Madison. How was work?" She shrugged, opening the fridge. "Fine. Where's Mom and Joshua?" "Doctor's appointment," I said. "There's lasagna if you want some." Madison turned, fixing me with a hard stare. "Look, I don't know what your deal is with my brother, but this isn't some halfway house for lost souls. We have enough to deal with without you adding to it." I stood, my appetite gone. "I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't mean to be a burden." "Then why are you here?" she challenged. Before I could answer, the front door opened again. Joshua's voice called out, "We're home." Madison's expression changed instantly, softening as she went to greet them. I remained in the kitchen, my mind racing. Maybe coming here had been a mistake after all. As I heard Grace's tired voice and Joshua's concerned replies, a realization hit me. I'd traded one family's drama for another's, and I was right in the middle of it all. I'd just finished my morning shift at the hospital when my phone buzzed. It was Joshua. "Em, can you come home right away? It's important." My heart raced as I drove back to the house. Had something happened to Grace? Was Joshua okay? I burst through the front door to find Joshua pacing in the living room. "What's wrong?" I asked, breathless. He ran a hand through his hair. "It's Madison. She just called. She's been offered a 6-month assignment in London. She's leaving tomorrow." I blinked, trying to process this. "Tomorrow? But what about Grace?" Joshua sank onto the couch. "That's the thing. Mom needs someone here during the day. I can't take time off work, and now with Madison gone." The implication hung in the air. I felt a weight settling on my shoulders. "You want me to look after Grace?" He looked up at me, his eyes pleading. "I know it's a lot to ask, Em, but you're already here, and you're a nurse. It would just be during the day while I'm at work." I opened my mouth to protest, but at that moment, Grace appeared in the doorway. "Joshua? Emily? What's going on?" Joshua explained the situation to his mother. I watched Grace's face carefully, noticing how it tightened when he mentioned me caring for her. "I don't need a babysitter," Grace said firmly. "I'm perfectly capable of looking after myself." "Mom, please," Joshua said. "It's just for a few months. Emily's a professional. She knows what she's doing." Grace's eyes met mine, and I saw a flicker of something. Resentment? Fear? Before she nodded curtly. "Fine, if it will make you feel better." As Grace retreated to her room, I turned to Joshua. "Are you sure about this? I don't think your mother likes me very much." He squeezed my hand. "She'll come around, you'll see." The next morning I woke early to see Madison off. As she loaded her suitcase into the taxi, she pulled me aside. "Look," she said, her voice low, "I know we got off on the wrong foot, but take care of my mom, okay? She acts tough, but she needs help sometimes." I nodded, surprised by her sudden change in tone. "I will. I promise." As the taxi drove away, I felt the full weight of my new responsibility settle over me. I turned to find Grace watching me from the porch, her expression unreadable. The first few days were awkward. Grace barely spoke to me, answering my questions with one-word responses. I tried to give her space, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she resented my presence. On the 4th day, I was preparing lunch when I heard a crash from upstairs. I raced to Grace's room to find her on the floor, a broken vase beside her. "I'm fine," she snapped as I helped her up. "I don't need your help." But as she tried to stand, she winced in pain. "Your ankle," I said. "Let me look at it." She reluctantly allowed me to examine her. "It's just a sprain," I said, "but you should stay off it for a few days." Grace's face crumpled. "I hate this," she whispered, "being weak, needing help." In that moment, I saw past her prickly exterior to the frightened, vulnerable woman beneath. "It's okay to need help sometimes," I said gently. "That's what I'm here for." She looked at me, really looked at me for the first time. "Why are you doing this, Emily? You barely know us." I thought about my own family, about the suffocating expectations and constant criticism. "Because everyone deserves kindness," I said simply, "even from strangers." Grace's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. As I helped her to bed, I felt a shift in our relationship. The ice was beginning to thaw. But that night, as I was cleaning up the kitchen, I overheard Joshua on the phone. I know, he was saying. "I'll be there soon. I just need to make sure Emily has everything under control here." I froze, my heart pounding. Who was he talking to, and where was he going so late? As I heard the front door close behind him, I was faced with a decision. Did I trust Joshua, or was there something he wasn't telling me? The days blurred together as I juggled my hospital shifts with caring for Grace. Despite our initial breakthrough, she still had moments of stubborn independence that left me exhausted. But it was Joshua's behavior that truly worried me. He'd been coming home later and later, always with a vague excuse about work. Tonight was no different. I glanced at the clock, 11:30 p.m. Grace had been asleep for hours, and I was fighting to keep my eyes open. The front door creaked open, and Joshua stumbled in. I rose from the couch, ready to confront him, but stopped short. The scent hit me first, a cloying, floral perfume that definitely wasn't mine. "Em?" Joshua slurred, squinting at me. "What are you still doing up?" I crossed my arms, trying to keep my voice steady. "I could ask you the same thing. Where have you been, Joshua?" He waved a hand dismissively. "Work stuff. You wouldn't understand. Work stuff that leaves you reeking of perfume?" The words came out sharper than I intended. Joshua's eyes narrowed. "What are you implying?" Before I could respond, Grace's voice called from upstairs. "Joshua? Is that you?" He shot me a warning look before heading up to his mother's room. I sank back onto the couch, my mind racing. What was going on? The next morning, I cornered Joshua in the kitchen before he left for work. "We need to talk about last night," I said firmly. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Em, I told you it was just work." "Until midnight? With someone wearing perfume?" I pressed. Joshua's face hardened. "You're reading too much into this. I thought you trusted me." The words stung. "I did. I do. But you're not giving me much to work with here, Joshua." He grabbed his keys, heading for the door. "I don't have time for this. I'll be late again tonight. Don't wait up." As the door slammed behind him, I felt a familiar sense of dread settling in my stomach. Was I making a mistake by staying here? My shift at the hospital was a blur of worried thoughts and second-guessing. When I returned home, I found Grace in the living room, looking troubled. "Emily," she said, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Can we talk?" I sat beside her, concern mounting. "Of course. What's wrong?" Grace twisted her hands in her lap. "It's about Joshua. I think he might be in some kind of trouble." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" "I overheard him on the phone last night," she confessed. "He was arguing with someone about money, a lot of money." The pieces started falling into place, the late nights, the secrecy, the smell of perfume. Was Joshua involved in something illegal? "Grace," I said carefully, "has Joshua ever had problems with gambling or drugs?" She shook her head vehemently. "No, never. But lately he's been so distant, I hardly recognize him anymore." I took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll figure this out, Grace. I promise." That night, I waited up again, determined to get answers. When Joshua finally stumbled in at 1 a.m., I was ready. "Enough," I said, standing to block his path. "You're going to tell me what's really going on, Joshua. Right now." He glared at me, the scent of alcohol and that same perfume wafting off him. "You want to know the truth, Em? Fine. I've been seeing someone. Happy now?" The words hit me like a physical blow. "You've been cheating?" Joshua laughed bitterly. "Cheating? We're not even together, Emily. You're just a guest in my house, remember?" I recoiled as if slapped. "A guest? Is that all I am to you?" His expression softened slightly. "Em, I didn't mean." But I'd heard enough. I pushed past him, racing up to my room. As I threw my belongings into a suitcase, tears blurring my vision, I was faced with an impossible choice. Do I stay and confront Joshua about his lies? Do I leave and abandon Grace when she needs me most? Or is there another option I haven't considered yet? As I zipped up my suitcase, I knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same after tonight. I spent the night tossing and turning, my mind a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. By morning, I'd made a decision. I couldn't leave. Not yet. I owed it to Grace to get to the bottom of this. As I made my way downstairs, I heard hushed voices from the kitchen. I paused, listening. "You can't keep this up, Joshua," Grace was saying, her voice strained. "Emily deserves to know the truth." "Mom, please," Joshua pleaded. "I'm handling it." I stepped into the doorway, making them both jump. "Handling what, exactly?" Joshua's face paled. "Em, I can explain." "Then explain," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Because I'm done with the lies and the sneaking around. I want the truth, Joshua, all of it." He glanced at Grace, who nodded encouragingly. With a deep sigh, Joshua began to speak. "I'm in trouble, Em, big trouble. I got involved with some people I shouldn't have. They loaned me money, and now they want it back, with interest." My heart sank. "How much?" Joshua's voice was barely a whisper. $200,000. The room spun. I gripped the doorframe for support. "Why?" What could you possibly need that much money for? It was for Mom's treatments, he said, looking at Grace. The insurance wouldn't cover everything, and I was desperate. Grace reached for his hand. Oh, Joshua, you should have told me. I felt a surge of anger. You should have told both of us. Instead, you've been lying and sneaking around for months. And the woman you've been seeing? Joshua winced. She's connected to the people I owe. She's been trying to help me find a way out. By having an affair? I spat. It's not like that, he protested. I never... A sharp knock at the door cut him off. Joshua's face drained of color. They're here, he whispered. Before I could react, 2 men in dark suits pushed their way into the kitchen. The larger one, a hulking figure with a scar across his cheek, fixed his gaze on Joshua. Time's up, pretty boy, he growled. Where's our money? Joshua stumbled back. I just need a little more time. The man's hand shot out, grabbing Joshua by the collar. You're out of time. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. Let him go. The man turned, eyeing me with amusement. And who might you be, sweetheart? I'm the one who's going to pay Joshua's debt, I heard myself say. The room fell silent. Joshua gaped at me. No, you can't. I can, and I will, I said firmly. I turned to the men. I have property. It's worth more than what Joshua owes. I'll sign it over to you today if you leave him alone. The scarred man released Joshua, his interest piqued. Property, huh? Where? I rattled off the address of my family's beach house, a place I'd inherited years ago but never used. The man pulled out his phone, tapping away. After a tense moment, he nodded. All right, sweetheart. You've got a deal. We'll be in touch with the paperwork. As quickly as they'd arrived, the men were gone. Joshua slumped against the counter, his face ashen. Emily, he choked out. I can't let you do this. That house is just a house, I finished. Your life is worth more. Grace enveloped me in a tight hug, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for saving my son. As she released me, I locked eyes with Joshua. The relief on his face slowly gave way to shame. I'm so sorry, he began. For everything. I never meant. I held up a hand, cutting him off. Don't. Just don't. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the kitchen. As I climbed the stairs to my room, my legs felt like lead. I'd just given up my inheritance, my safety net, for a man who'd lied to me for months. Closing my bedroom door, I leaned against it and slid to the floor. What had I done? And more importantly, where did I go from here? I spent the next few days in a daze, going through the motions at work and avoiding Joshua as much as possible at home. The weight of my decision to give up my beach house pressed heavily on my chest. But it was the betrayal that truly suffocated me. On the 3rd day, as I was changing Grace's bandages, she took my hand. Emily, we need to talk about what happened. I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about, she insisted. What you did for Joshua, it was more than anyone could have asked for. I felt tears pricking at my eyes. I didn't do it for Joshua. I did it for you, Grace, and for myself. I couldn't live with the guilt if something had happened to him. Grace squeezed my hand. You're a better person than all of us put together. But Emily, you can't keep running from this. You need to confront Joshua. As if summoned by his name, Joshua appeared in the doorway. Can we talk, please? I looked at Grace, who nodded encouragingly. With a deep breath, I followed Joshua to the living room. He paced nervously, running his hands through his hair. Emily, I don't even know where to start. What you did. I don't want your repayment, I said, my voice cold. I want the truth. All of it. Now. Joshua sank onto the couch, his shoulders slumped. You're right. You deserve the whole truth. He took a deep breath. I never had an affair. The woman you smelled on me, she was a loan shark. I was meeting her to try and negotiate more time. I felt a flicker of relief, quickly extinguished by anger. So you lied about having an affair to cover up your gambling debts? How is that any better? It's not, he admitted. I was a coward. I thought if you believed I was cheating, you'd leave. It would be easier than admitting how badly I'd screwed up. Easier for who? I demanded. Do you have any idea what you put me through? What you put your mother through? Joshua's eyes filled with tears. I know I hurt you both. I was desperate and scared, and I made one bad decision after another. But Emily, you have to believe me when I say I never stopped caring about you. I stood up, my hands shaking. Caring about me? You lied to me for months. You let me believe I was crazy for suspecting you. You were going to let me walk away thinking you'd betrayed me. I know, he whispered, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Something inside me snapped. All the pain, the betrayal, the sacrifices I'd made came rushing to the surface. You know what, Joshua? I don't care about your regrets. I don't care about your excuses. I'm done. I stormed upstairs, throwing open my closet and pulling out my suitcase. As I started throwing clothes into it, Joshua appeared in the doorway. Emily, please, he begged. Don't go. We can work this out. I whirled on him. Work what out? The fact that you lied to me? That you put your entire family at risk? That I had to give up my inheritance to save your sorry ass? I'll find a way to pay you back, he promised. Every penny. Just please, don't leave. I zipped up my suitcase, my resolve hardening. It's not about the money, Joshua. It's about trust, and you shattered mine into a million pieces. As I brushed past him, he grabbed my arm. Em, I love you. I've always loved you. Please don't go. I jerked away from him, my voice ice cold. If you ever loved me, you'll let me go. Now. With that, I walked out of the room, down the stairs, and out the front door. As I threw my suitcase into my car, I heard Grace calling my name. But I couldn't look back. I couldn't let them see me break. As I drove away, tears streaming down my face, I realized I had nowhere to go. I'd given up everything for a man who'd lied to me from the start. Where did I go from here? And more importantly, how did I start rebuilding the life I'd so thoroughly destroyed? 6 months had passed since I'd driven away from Joshua's house, leaving behind a life I thought I wanted. I'd spent those months rebuilding, rediscovering who I was without the weight of others' expectations. I stood on the porch of my new home, a modest cottage by the sea. It wasn't the beach house I'd given up, but it was mine, bought with my own hard-earned money. As I sipped my morning coffee, my phone buzzed. Joshua's name flashed on the screen. With a deep breath, I answered. Hello, Joshua. Em, his voice cracked. I need to see you, please. Part of me wanted to hang up, to continue the silence I'd maintained these past months. But another part, the part that had grown stronger, knew it was time to face this. All right, I said. Meet me at the pier in an hour. As I waited by the weathered railings, watching the waves crash against the shore, I saw Joshua approach. He looked older, worn down by the weight of his mistakes. Emily, he said, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and desperation. Thank you for meeting me. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. What do you want, Joshua? He fumbled in his pocket, pulling out an envelope. This is for you. It's not everything, but it's a start. I've been working 2 jobs, trying to pay you back for the beach house. I took the envelope, feeling its weight. Joshua, I told you, it wasn't about the money. I know, he said, his voice breaking, but I had to do something. Emily, I've been in therapy. I'm trying to be better, to understand why I did what I did. I know I hurt you, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But I was hoping, maybe we could start over? I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the man I'd once cared for, the friend I'd trusted, but I also saw the lies, the betrayal, the pain he'd caused. No, Joshua, I said softly. We can't start over. Too much has happened. His face fell, but he nodded. I understand. I miss you, Em. We all do. Mom asks about you all the time. A pang of guilt hit me. How is Grace? She's doing better, he said. The treatments are working. She'd love to see you. I took a deep breath, feeling the sea air fill my lungs. I'd like that, but Joshua, you need to understand something. I'm not coming back. Not to you. Not to that life. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. I just hoped. Hope isn't enough, I said gently. We both need to move forward. I've found my path, Joshua. I hope you find yours. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. It was a reminder for my evening class. I'd enrolled in a nursing leadership program, determined to advance my career on my own terms. Joshua noticed the notification. You're going back to school? I nodded, feeling a surge of pride. I am. It's time I focused on my own dreams. A small smile crossed his face. You always were the smart one, Em. I'm happy for you. Really. As we said our goodbyes, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, they were still there, but they no longer defined me. I walked back to my cottage, my steps light. Inside, I looked at the vision board I'd created, filled with my goals and dreams. In the center was a quote I'd chosen. The best revenge is living well. I smiled, tracing the words with my finger. I'd given up so much for Joshua, but in doing so, I'd found myself. I'd discovered a strength I never knew I had, a resilience that couldn't be broken by lies or betrayal. As I prepared for my class, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was different from the one who'd fled Joshua's house 6 months ago. She was stronger, wiser, and finally, truly happy. I picked up my books, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, I was excited to see where it would lead. I'd learned the hard way that the only person I could truly rely on was myself. And that, I realized, was the greatest gift of all. As I locked my door and headed out into the evening, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The old Emily was gone, replaced by a woman who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to claim it. Whatever came next, I was ready. This was my story now, and I was finally the one writing it.